Hey folks, welcome back to Infinite Podcast. You've got your hosts here. I'm the voice that kicks reason to the curb, and as always, the one and only Simon's riding shotgun. Today we're hacking through the tangled wires of startup life. Tell me, Simon, how do you balance that fire in the belly passion with cold, hard business pragmatism?
Ah, man, Joe, that's like trying to teach a goldfish to moonwalk. Not natural, but wildly entertaining. Passion's your rocket fuel, right? But pragmatism, that's the parachute to make sure you don't smack into the side of a mountain. You go all in on the dream without a plan, and it's like stepping into the ring blindfolded with a kangaroo. Good luck, buddy.
The parachute analogy's spot on, but let's poke at it. If we're too pragmatic, aren't we just killing innovation? Startups are like bands. Everyone wants to be the Beatles, but playing it safe gets you elevator music. Sure, every goldfish might not moonwalk, but without trying something nuts, you end up running a goldfish bowl factory instead of an aquarium. And where's the fun in that, right?
So here's a little story time. My cousin, right, started this food truck selling peanut butter and pickle sandwiches. Crazy stuff. People laughed, said it was a bonkers idea. But he stuck with his gut, mashed up that passion with like an actual business model. Crazy, I know. And you know what? It worked. Lines down the street forget this. Pickle witches. So yeah, balancing the two is key. You gotta risk it to get the biscuit, but also remember not to accidentally throw the biscuit into a fire pit.
Whoa, Simon, peanut butter and pickle sandwiches? Man, that's wild. But it's like a metaphor for startups, right? Thinking outside the box is essential. You need that zany idea to stand out from the crowd. It's all about hitting that sweet spot where originality meets market needs. Unexpected combos can be winners. The Pickle Witch hustle teaches us one thing. If you blend your quirky vision with solid planning, sometimes you strike gold. Or in this case, peanut butter.
Yeah, but let's not slap some peanut butter on our dreams and call it a day just yet. Sure, startups need that edge to slice through the noise, spice things up with their pickle witches of innovation. But diving into the deep end without floaties? Come on. Everyone wants to be a trailblazer until they're lost in the woods with no cell reception. Gotta have that blend of crazy and cunning, you know? Keep one foot in Wonderland and the other in, well, reality. Because when things go south, that parachute better be more than just passion. It's gotta be practical enough for a soft landing.
Right. What I'm getting at, companies are born from eureka moments, but they grow up on execution, not just ideas. Like, that parachute you mentioned? It's got to be woven from solid stuff, market research, financial planning, and a really good team. Because face it, when the engine fails mid-flight, and let's be real, in startups it often does, you need more than passion to navigate the storm. You've got to have contingency plans, maybe diversification strategies, like multiple revenue streams. Keep the wild ideas coming, but for each one, there's got to be an okay, how's this actually going to work moment.
Hold up, Joe. Multiple revenue streams? Like a business hydra or something. That's genius. You chop one head off and two more pop up ready to make bank. Wait, am I getting that right? Every startup should have contingency what nows. It's like you're saying, if my peanut butter side hustle tanks, I better be selling jelly on the side to keep the PB&J dream alive. Man, startups sound like you're spinning plates while juggling flaming swords at the same time. How's anyone supposed to keep track of all this stuff without, combusting?
Now you've got it, Simon. But honestly, think about it. Business Hydra sounds overwhelming, and here's the thing, it can be. There's a risk in over-diversification too, right? If you're selling peanut butter, jelly, and let's say sprinkles, because why not, your focus gets diluted. Look, I'm all for backup plans, but there's this fine line. Stick to what you're good at, become the best at it, then branch out. That's how you avoid combusting. Don't spin too many plates or they'll come crashing down. And yeah, startups are tough. But remember, the most successful founders often keep it simple at first. They dominate one thing, get that formula down pat, and then only then they juggle those flaming swords. Adaptability matters, but so does focus. Let's not forget that.
So yeah, duh. Focus is key. You ever see someone super good at one thing? It's like watching a dog chase its tail. They're so into it, nothing else matters. And that's cool for startups too. Like being known for one standout product can slap harder than a menu with more options than my TV remote has buttons, you know? Build a rep as the top dog in your niche first. That means understanding your customers so well, you can predict their favorite Netflix show. Creepy, but useful. So, time to put the blinders on and charge. Just don't be that founder who's grasping at straws or plates or swords. Stay sharp, stay focused, and when things take off, then maybe toss another plate in the air. Cautiously.
Exactly, Simon. Nail one thing so well it's like second nature. Then you level up like playing a video game. Start with Tetris before you jump into some open world epic. Get that foundation solid, then build your empire. Cautiously, like you said.
So, like, what do you think the biggest mistake is that new founders make when starting out? You know, like besides trying to play 4D chess when they barely know checkers.
Biggest mistake? Easy. It's scaling too fast, like a kid in a candy store with no supervision. They want one of everything, and before you know it, they've got a tummy ache. Founders sometimes forget that growing a business is, well, marathon, not sprint. They push for growth without the infrastructure to support it, like trying to run before you can walk. Chill. Build a solid team, understand your audience deeply, and refine your product. Otherwise, it's like putting rocket boosters on a bicycle. Sure, it's exciting, but man, it won't end well.
Yeah, like you're spot on. Rushing to scale is definitely playing with fire. It's kind of painful watching those startups all wobbly-legged like baby giraffes trying to ice skate when they think throwing cash at problems is the magic fix. There's this sad tune that plays every time I see one crash and burn because they bit off more than they can chew. You just want to, grab them by the shoulders, look them in the eye and be like, dude, steady wins the race. Take it slow. Make thoughtful choices. Don't just stampede ahead. Building something real takes time, patience, and a lot of that elbow grease stuff.
Yeah, so that reminds me of a friend. The guy was a total whiz with gadgets, right? So he's got this killer app idea and just snaps it up the hype train, full throttle, no looking back. But here's where it gets real. He didn't think about support systems, customer service, or heck, even long-term funding. Then, like when he finally launching, bam, server crash on day one. No backup plan, users flooding him with complaints, and well, he's in over his head. This guy could have been a tech superstar, but instead, he's doing damage control. Not exactly the dream, huh? What I'm getting at is he taught me valuable lessons about growth and infrastructure. You've got to line up all your ducks, test things meticulously, and only push forward when you're certain you can handle the pressure. My buddy's app, it survived, but not without scars, Preparedness isn't just buzzword, it's survival gear in this startup jungle.
Oh man, sounds like your friend got a front row seat to the startup roller coaster, from hero to zero and back. It's a jungle out there for sure, brimming with pitfalls, but also teeming with opportunities, right? So what's the one piece of advice you'd give to first-time founders stepping into this wild startup jungle?
Advice for the brave souls marching into this wilderness, huh? I'd say, embrace your unique story and let that shape your brand. Get this. Your brand is like your flag in the startup kingdom. Plant it with purpose and make it wave high. And speaking of branding quirks, man, there's some fascinating stuff out there. You gotta love those brands that break the mold. Think about how some pull it off with personalities that are more colorful than a box of crayons, right? They've got humor, heart, and they stand out by not taking themselves too seriously. That sort of offbeat branding can snag hearts and wallets because customers dig authenticity and a good laugh. Remember Dollar Shave Club? Talk about nailing an introduction. What do you think, Simon, about these oddball brand origins and their wild rides to success?
Well, yeah, I've been thinking about how these quirky brands totally redefine the game. A playful approach really resonates because it feels human and different from those stuffy corporate vibes you get elsewhere. Um, Dollar Shave Club is a killer example. Started with nothing but guts and clever marketing. They turned razors into a revolution, man. It's genius branding that hits just right, makes you part of an in-joke or something. These kooky stories behind brands hook us because they're relatable and memorable. Don't you think? The oddities make them stick in your head like that annoying jingle from a commercial, but in the best way possible. So, Joe, what do you reckon? Does unorthodox branding have a bigger impact than traditional play it safe strategies?
Well, Simon, unorthodox is cool and all, but let's pump the brakes a sec. It's not for everyone. Traditional branding has strength. It's like this trusted uniform that says, hey, we're pros. Think about luxury brands. They keep it sleek because opulence loves simplicity, right? And here, let's spill some facts. Coca-Cola, for example. Classic branding at its finest. They rarely diverge from their time-honored vibe, and people dig it. The thing with quirky, it can hit big or miss hard, and not all audiences cling to weird. Sometimes, playing it safe isn't just safe, it's smart. There's power in predictability. Steadiness breeds trust. So yeah, oddball branding cuts through noise, gets you attention, quick bursts of viral fame even, but it doesn't always translate to longevity or loyalty. Plus, there's like cultural nuances too. What wows one crowd might flop with another. Unorthodox isn't universal language.
But come on, Joe. Predictability might as well be paint drying, gets old fast. That steady Eddie routine can't hang with the startups slinging rubber chickens and making waves. Branding's got to have some spice to keep them coming back for more.
Well, I hear you, Simon, but hang on. Think about it like a potluck, all right? Some folks will bring the spicy wings that get everyone talking like, whoa, did you try those? But others are bringing the mashed potatoes. Nothing flashy, yet everybody's heaping them on their plate because it's comfort food. Both have their place at the table, you feel me? So check this. The spice is good, makes headlines, captures that elusive stickiness in folks' minds, but only if there's substance to back it up. The rubber chicken gets you in the door once, but what keeps you around is how useful or enjoyable the product really is. So blending out their branding with rock-solid value, that's where the magic happens. Like Old Spice rebranding with those wild ads, it's quirky plus quality. It's about balance, man, not just all heat and no meat.
Yeah, balance. That's a solid point. And Old Spice, dude, cracking the code to both go viral and stay on top, that's like catching lightning in a bottle. So what's your take, Joe, on how these brands kick tradition to the curb while keeping one foot in reality? Like, sure, humor's awesome for grabbing attention, but isn't there a risk of just becoming a meme instead of a mainstay?
Well, Simon, here's the deal. It's all about nailing that tightrope walk, right? Toss tradition, sure, but keep your grip on what makes you real to consumers. The key, is not to become just another one-hit wonder, a meme that burned too bright and fizzled out. Say, take Wendy's Twitter game, roasting competitors with wit sharper than attack, right? That could have gone south fast, made them look petty. But nah, they backed it up with quality eats, kept the humor in check with reality, never let the shtick overshadow the burger, so to speak. So brands gotta thread this needle, use humor as an invitation, not just a punchline. You make them laugh, then you make them stay with substance. It's gotta be more than smoke and mirrors. Gotta have steak beneath the sizzle. Otherwise, yeah, you're just a meme, fleeting as fame on the internet can be.
Yeah, I get what you're throwing down. Wendy's, they're not just all talk and no action. The food's actually good enough to back their smack talk, so it's got staying power. But if you lean too hard on quirkiness without delivering the goods, you'll be that flash-in-the-pan meme. And hey, let's remember these oddball origins because they give us stories to latch onto, right? It's kind of charming when a brand pops up out of nowhere, kind of like the underdog story we all love. Successful quirky branding is like inviting someone into an exclusive club, inside jokes, winks, and nudges included. But yeah, bottom line, your product has to rock just as hard as your Twitter burns, or else, what's even the point? A joke can get old, but quality that stays delicious, or, well, whatever non-food analogy works here. It needs legs, not just funny bones.
Totally, Simon. To hammer it home, not every brand can pull off the quirky vibe, but when they do, it's like a gold mine. Being relatable, that's key. You foster this connection with your audience. They're not just buying products, they're buying into an experience, an identity. But critically, the quirk can't be a disguise for mediocrity. It's like gotta have the goods to back up the gab. We've seen plenty of flashy brands burst onto the scene, all pizzazz and no pizza, right? A smart quirk connects the dots between identity and quality, serving up consistency that cements loyalty. Otherwise, you're at risk of being written off as a gag. Brands that last aren't just memorable because they were funny once. They weave their narrative into customers' lives over time. Think about how Apple kind of transformed from a scrappy startup in a garage to a leader by marrying innovation with clean aesthetics. They kept their underdog spirit but also evolved it into a legacy. Customers need to trust. You'll still be giving them those great moments tomorrow, next year, and beyond. The laugh and the longevity. So to grab both and hold on tight, that's branding genius right there.
So here's a twist. Imagine if Apple started as a joke brand with fruit puns and slapstick ads. You think they'd still be the tech titans today, or just a comedic footnote in Silicon Valley?
Well, Simon, if Apple had taken the comedy route, I laugh just thinking about it, man. They'd probably be something we talk about for a giggle, but not taking seriously in the market, right? And speaking of serious, pitching your brand for that sweet, sweet funding, you got to be crisp and clear like a perfectly tuned guitar. But imagine for a second, say you're in an elevator and out of left field comes this founder. They got time till the next floor to win you over with their best shot, a wild, comedic pitch for what could be the next big thing. There's an art to it, hitting all the right notes in those few seconds, isn't there? And yeah, this brings me to a bit we've been itching to try, pitching wacky but golden business ideas in our own version of elevator pitches gone wild. Like, how would you sell an investor on underwater basket weaving as the new mindfulness trend? That's coherence meets creativity. So to all the listeners out there, hit us with your zaniest concepts, and let's see if we can give them that elevator charm, shall we? What's the wackiest pitch you've heard, Simon? Or do you have a nutty idea yourself?
All right, Joe. So, I once heard a pitch about socks that change color with your mood. Great for the poker player with cold feet, right? But it got me thinking, isn't this just a mood ring for your toes? Let's flip the script. What if you could invest in a service that sends breakup texts for you? Sorry it's over service, or SIOS. For anyone who can't face the music, it's personal, yet super impersonal. Goldmine, am I right? Like awkward, but might actually fly. What do you think? Would you put cash into these if someone dropped them in your lap during an elevator ride?
Oh, breakup texts as a service, huh? That sounds like both the worst and best idea rolled into one. Like there's something oddly practical about it, you know? It's cold, sure, but let's be real. There are folks out there who'd pay to avoid that awkward conversation. Though, if your business is helping people duck confrontation, are we nurturing a world of cowards or just recognizing human nature? Still, can't deny its uniqueness. I'd say it's got legs for a hilarious, yet heartbreaking startup story.
Imagine people getting breakup texts while planning a date because their SIOS got crossed. It's like tragicomedy at its finest. Now that's a Netflix series waiting to happen. Love on autotext.
Ha, Simon, now that's gold right there. Love on autotext, you're onto something. The drama, the comedy, investors might just eat it up. Imagine that pitch. It's rom-com meets tech mishap. But for real, it'd be like rolling life, love, and technology into one big tornado of an app. Let's light that up with a tagline too. Something like, finding love is hard, but leaving, it's just a click away. I can see it now. Mix-ups, close calls, heartwarming reconciliations. Maybe even throw in a dash of entrepreneurial spirit. Characters trying to squash competition from rival breakup services. And folks, think about this. While SIOS could turn your love life into a sitcom scenario, it's also a mirror to our tech-obsessed society where even relationships get the convenience store treatment. If everything else is on demand, why not breakups? Anyway, keep the zany ideas coming. What's the best way to sell investors on a tragically comedic service? Drop us a line, or send a text if you will. Simon, what other wild pitches got you brainstorming?
Right then. So what if we had an app that vibed with the sharing economy? Rent a pet. For the folks wanting pet affection but can't commit full time, Imagine pitching that. Get a furry friend on demand, minus the lifetime promises. Now, investors might chuckle, but think about it. There's legit potential under the fluff. People love pets, sure, but they travel or work too much. Plus, there's this whole angle of helping shelters give animals temporary homes. And people, get their cuddle fix without strings attached. But then again, Joe, something tells me you've got to have some serious bark to sell that puppy in an elevator ride. What's the edge that hook you right off the bat?
Ah, rent a pet, huh? Like a test drive for potential pet parents. Still, though, you've got to thread that ethical needle tightly, because the last thing you'd want is pets becoming like just another disposable item, right? But on the flip, if done responsibly, it's kind of brilliant, helping animals and providing companionship with this whole ease of access factor baked in. Seriously, though, Simon, what's the plan to make sure these buddies don't just become, well, borrowed toys? And how do we ensure it's not stressing the furballs out, knowing that they're hopping from place to place?
Well, Joe, maybe these rented critters could be the retired divas of the animal influencer world. They're used to the spotlight and can't settle for a quiet life off the gram.
Yeah, right. So, expanding on keeping Rent-A-Pet ethical and such, it's crucial to consider the pet's well-being first and foremost, you know? Because it's not just about cuddles on demand. We got to ensure they're not treated as props or accessories for a selfie. Maybe implement a system where the pets are from shelters, right? And the people renting them have to pass some sort of screening process to check if they're good temporary fits. Both sides win. Pets get love and attention, helping with socialization, kind of important for adoption down the line, and folks learn responsibility without the long-term commitment. But investors need to buy into the caring angle, not just the convenience. Stitching that narrative tight, making clear it's about mutual benefit, not exploitation, is key. That's what hooks me. Not only the novelty, but the promise of a genuine positive impact. Does flip the traditional pet ownership script on its head, doesn't it?
Totally, Joe. Mutual benefit's the kicker here. That's what wraps the pitch in a big shiny bow. Paints Rent-A-Pet not just as a service, but as a furry crusade for change. And hey, if we're pitching ideas that spin heads and maybe make the world a touch brighter, then let's keep them coming. Elevator pitches are wild by nature, so who knows what wacky brilliance is lurking in someone's noggin. What's your next brainwave, Joe?
Ah, speaking of rentals, Simon, that mindset isn't just about quick access. It's part of a larger trend, right? People rethinking what owning stuff means. We're in this era where it's not just about short-term gains, but building something that lasts. This throws us right into the tussle between making fast cash and creating a legacy that stands the test of time. You think about businesses out there chasing the quick buck, a flashy launch, some hard-selling tactics, and sure, they'll see dollars initially. But if their eyes aren't on the horizon, they might miss out on crafting something with permanence, something people respect years down the line. There's a real trade-off here. Go for the loot now or lay down bricks for a fortress. Look at brands that have embedded themselves in culture versus those who burned bright for a hot minute. So yeah, let's chew over that. Crafting legacy over lucre. Is it better to be a comet streaking through the sky or the North Star, constant and guiding? What do you lean towards, Simon?
Legacy's great and all, Joe, but ain't easy street tempting. Who wouldn't want to be the next hot thing, even if just for a moment in the sun? Build a fortress, sure, but what if there's a storm every other week? Yet here's the rub. Flash-in-the-pan stuff might get you that beach house quick, but it's like building on sand, right? Waves come, poof, gone. Long-term vision offers stability, durability, respect. You weather storms because your castle's on solid ground, not just for show. So yeah, I get tempted by the shiny now and then, but deep down, leaning on throwing those bricks down. Short-lived successes are cool stories, but they're just that, stories. You tell at parties, maybe? What about the tales spanning generations because the North Star doesn't bail? That's my 2 cents.
Haha, I feel you on the beach house dreams, but those stories at parties, they're better when they're chapters in a saga, not just some blurb on a napkin. A legacy is choosing to write a novel over a tweet.
Right, Joe. It's like building a legacy is slower, yeah? Full of ums and ahs along the way. It's messy, complex, but rich with purpose. Short-term profits? That's all sparkle, but fizzle out quick. Legacy is about digging in for the long haul, even when the buzz fades. Consider the giants who've lasted decades. They had to adapt, take punches from every economic mood swing imaginable. They stuck it out, though, didn't bail at the first sign of trouble. You play the long game, make choices that don't just look good on the quarterly report, but resonate years later. And maybe legacy builders are kind of like oak trees. Strong roots, right? Surviving storms, droughts, whatever else. Meanwhile, those chasing the quick cash are more, I don't know, like dandelions, pop up fast everywhere, then poof, just part of the breeze. Give me slow growth and resilience over being a weed any day. What's your take, Joe? Doing all right with acorns, or you still eyeing those quick-blooming dandelion dollars?
Well, Simon, gotta hand it to you with that oak tree analogy. You're right. It's about those roots, the resilience you build over time. Those quick profits might be tempting, like the smell of, fresh pizza when you're starved. But will it satisfy long term? Probably not as much as something hearty that took hours in the kitchen. For me, slow and steady wins it. You lay down a solid foundation, stick to your values. You're essentially crafting a legacy right there. It's like we're playing the infinite game, right? So how do we make sure we're planting oaks, not dandelions? Keep the business evolving, but true to its core. You know what I mean, Simon? Like, isn't that the balancing act at the heart of all this?
Evolving but staying true to the core. Sounds nice on paper, Joe. Like, who doesn't want their business to be Gandalf, wise, powerful, and surviving everything, even Balrogs? But those roots, man, they take time, care, tough choices. Sticking to values is tricky when quick profits wave at you from the sidelines like frisky cheerleaders. It's seductive, sure. You think, just this once, and bam, you're off course before your oak's even a sapling. Nurturing growth that lasts? Geez, it's like walking a tightrope in clown shoes. Let's not even start with market shifts. They're like hurricanes for your little oaks. Keeping steady, it's a heck of a show, almost deserving applause. And how do we ensure it? By being stubborn, I guess? Or by focusing on impact over income, on stories over statements, Joe? It's choosing to be the tortoise in a world obsessed with hares. And let's face it, some days we'll totally eye those dandelion dollars. But deep down, we're about that oak life, even if it's less glamour today for a forest tomorrow. That's my tussle with it all. Laying bricks slowly can be a yawner, but hey, Rome wasn't built during a coffee break. What's your stance, Joe? How are you keeping your ship on course in these choppy legacy-building waters?
Laying bricks, building Rome. Ah, there's the rub. It ain't just setting a course. It's holding steady when those cheerleader prophets turn into sirens, luring you onto the rocks with their sweet, empty-calorie songs. But hey, Simon, every oak was once an acorn that held its ground, right? Just gotta remember what we're growing for when the winds start howling.
Man, Joe, think about it. Every brand out there's spinning a yarn, trying to become the Hercules of their domain. They want to be legends, myths even. It ain't just about what they're selling, it's the tale that sells it.
Ah, you hit the nail on the head with that one, Simon. It's like brands are no longer just shilling products, they're weaving epics. Look at Apple, Nike, even Tesla. They're not just about gadgets, shoes, or cars. They're selling dreams, aspirations, a slice of, a bigger story. The product becomes a side character in an epic tale. You're buying into being part of something, a movement, a lifestyle, a revolution. And that's what sticks. It's no mistake we remember slogans and mascots decades old, because a good story gets etched deep. Sell the myth, and you've got more than customers, you've got believers. What's your take?
So Joe, you're telling me brands are basically the campfire storytellers of our time. Like when you mention Apple and Nike, it clicks. They're not just selling stuff. They're selling a plot we want to live out. And you've got Tesla. They turned electric cars into a mission to Mars tale or something. It's genius, because who just wants a car? Nah, you want to be part of that big, bold future. So, I'm getting it now. The story's what glues us to the brand. You buy into their world, their mythos, and suddenly you're not just using a product, you're like playing a role in this grand narrative. That is some next level marketing magic right there.
All right, Simon, playing devil's advocate here. I get the whole mythos thing, but what if we're giving these tales too much credit? Like, sure, they're powerful, but it's easy to overlook the basics. A solid product. If your gear breaks down more than it powers dreams, no story's going to save you. Take the recent wave against fast fashion. No amount of narrative is going to cover up that environmental cost. People are savvy. They see past the gloss quicker now with all the info at their fingertips. A good story won't patch a bad reputation forever. So yeah, myths are mighty, but let's not forget, like, consumers aren't just passive listeners anymore. They will call out the emperor's new clothes in a heartbeat. Brands still need substance behind the stories. Otherwise, their Icarus tale might end the same way. Wings melted, and down they go.
Yeah, yeah, totally, Joe. So, like, let's not get it twisted. The story has got to be on solid ground. It's, like when your mom told you The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Cool story, but the moral hits because it's real, it's substantial. It doesn't matter if you've spun the best tales since Star Wars, if your product stinks. Take a look at brands that nailed their mythos because they had the chops to back it up. Like every time Apple drops something, people line up because they trust the plot. They know there's a wizard behind that curtain. And you're spot on about fast fashion getting called out. People are peeping behind the scenes now more than ever. They're like part of this global neighborhood watch. If they spot you messing up, no smooth talk or flashy ads will save you. Brands have got to walk the talk. Otherwise, the carriage turns back into a pumpkin, glass slippers and all. Poof. Just like that, credibility's toast.
Absolutely, Simon. It's kind of like if Superman was caught jaywalking. So much for truth, justice, and the American way, right? Brand stories can crash hard if they don't match reality.
This reminds me of a time back in high school. I was super into collecting sneakers, all about those limited editions, fancy collabs, and like there was this local store that told these insane stories behind each release. It wasn't just shoes, it was history, culture, a legacy. So there's me, glued to their tails, dropping all my allowance on new kicks every month. But guess what? Half the sneaks fell apart faster than a sandcastle at high tide. Well, I learned fast. Stories can get you through the door, but if the castle ain't got any mortar, you're gonna feel duped. Taught me a good lesson. Whether it's sneakers or Supermen, the backdrop's gotta match the goods. Otherwise, it's just set dressing. And, the audience will always figure out when the stage is fake. What do you think, Joe? Have a similar episode from your Hall of Fame of facepalms?
Well, Simon, let's say I've had my fair share of chasing mirages. Like this one time, right? Got utterly sold on a tech gadget. Promised the moon, AI-driven everything, you name it. The marketing was slick, the story was tight, felt like buying into the future. But man, when I got it, let's just say I've seen better stuff at yard sales. So sure, those big tales can dazzle, but they often leave you in the dark once the novelty dims. It's about credibility, ain't it? Got me thinking, how do we balance our BS detectors with enjoying the show these brands put on, huh? What's your strategy for sifting through the sparkle to find the real gems?
Yeah, Joe, but consider this. Some folks argue that myth-making's not just fluff. It stirs up emotions, right? Brands aren't just selling gadgets or shoes, they're selling identities, connections to something bigger than us. Consider Nike's Just Do It. It's not just a slogan, it's about the spirit of athletics, reaching for goals. Same with Apple or Tesla. They make you feel innovative by association. So even if someone ends up with a dud, the myth, that connection to an ideal, it can sustain loyalty until they get it right. And let's be real, innovation's messy. Stories tap into deep wells in our psyche, shaping desires and behaviors. They build trust and community, leveraged right. Now, I'm not saying it excuses shoddy products, nah, but those myths often have real power because they resonate on a human level. Man validates aspiration, aligns with personal legends we pen daily. And sometimes a brand's myth gets so big, it kind of self-corrects, adapts to maintain its aura. Weirdly, it almost guards their rep from complete crash and burn scenarios. Thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, Simon, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? We're wired for stories, they're powerful stuff. But brands better deliver. Or it's like feeding us empty calories, tasty, but ultimately unfulfilling. They bank on that myth to get a second chance. I'll give them that. Sometimes it works, other times, well, let's just say not every tale ends in happily ever after.
Ah, Joe, totally. It's like eating cotton candy thinking it's a steak. If the product doesn't stack up, myth or no myth, all you're left with is sticky hands and a less than thrilled belly. And yeah, they do lean on that story for a mulligan when things flop. Kinda reminds me of those once upon a time fairy tales, except instead of kissing frogs hoping for princes, it's consumers buying into the mystique and hoping the next model isn't another toad. Keeps you wondering, huh? Brands survive one fiasco after another thanks to their tall tales, and we're all here watching, popcorn in hand, waiting to see if they'll pull a phoenix and rise from the ashes, or just end up as another cautionary fable. What's the punchline, Joe? Do we get a moral with this story, or just a reminder to check the warranty?
Yeah, Simon, you got a point with the whole Phoenix Rising shtick, but there's a catch, ain't there? Like, trust, it's tough to earn and crazy easy to lose. If brands are just crossing fingers banking on these myths to save them again and again, dangerous game, my man. 'Cause look, consumers aren't just wide-eyed kids anymore. They're critics, reviewers, investigators even. One whiff of a toad and they'll frog march that brand across social media faster than you can say kiss of death. So let me throw this your way. The moral? It ain't about warranties. It's about stories needing real heroes, not just smoke and mirrors. Without those, well, it's all just a house of cards waiting for a stiff breeze. Brands gotta up their game, or the next chapter could be a tragedy, no matter how sweet the fairy tale started. Now, isn't that something? Say, Simon, when's the last time you felt totally jazzed by what a brand was preaching, where their legend felt rock solid true?
Ah, Joe, the last time I was all buzzed about a brand spiel, it was this small-time brewery that told tales of heritage, craftsmanship. That stuff got me good. Each sip felt like necromancing some ancient brewmaster. Brands slinging legends, they gotta keep it real, or yeah, they're just peddling fairy dust. We crave stories soaked in truth, where you taste the grit, not just the gloss. Because when the tall tale checks out, you're not just holding a product. You feel like you've nabbed a slice of the epic. It makes you think, what's next for branding myths? Can't wait to see who writes the book and who ends up as a footnote. Got any fresh takes on unrealized brand potential, Joe?
You know, Simon, every logo has a secret handshake kind of story. Think of Colonel Sanders. Dude's face is plaster kind of famous, but his wild ride to KFC King, it's like hitting reset at 65 and building an empire from a roadside shack, a real grind-to-glory gig if there ever was one.
Right? Colonel Sanders was slinging chicken way into his bingo years, man. Dude was like, retirement? Nah, let's spice things up. Picture him handing out drumsticks and wisdom. Less rocking chair, more rock and roll. Who needs a gold watch when you got a gold recipe?
Spot on, Simon. Sanders was all in, like sleeves rolled up, his hustle stamped right into that logo. Now you think about how that spirit bleeds into the brand even today. It's still a bit of the Colonel's never too late vibe at KFC. It's kind of iconic. So what founder's saga do you reckon is ripe for the legend picking? Someone who just started with an idea and like built a temple out of passion and grit?
You ever heard of that one dude, Jeff Bezos? Started Amazon in a garage, selling books. Bet his neighbors thought he was running some sort of nerdy lemonade stand. Fast forward, and it's like he turned his bicycle into a rocket ship, literally. Wonder if his space crew packs snacks from Whole Foods.
Yeah, Simon, Bezos is like the poster child for those start small, dream big stories, right? Amazon went from a book nook to this everything store, a digital behemoth. But it's not about selling stuff. It's selling convenience, reinventing how we live. And that space venture, it's classic Bezos, always plotting a course to the next frontier. He built his brand around being a step ahead, even when it was just him and a stack of books. Shows us you might start in a garage, but with vision, man, someday you could be looking down at Earth from orbit. And that's a wild ride worth telling.
Sure, Bezos is out there stargazing now, but let's not gloss over the hitches along that rocket ride, huh? The dude shook up bookstores, then retail, And let's be real, some of that came with mixed reviews. Then there's someone like Elon Musk, the Tony Stark of our time. Starts off with PayPal, rockets to Tesla, shoots for Mars with SpaceX. I mean, does he ever chill? It's like each venture's got his signature move, go big or go home, or to another planet. Thing is, these stories, they're sticky because they show us a blend of wins and wipeouts. Like, no one wants to hear about a stroll down Easy Street. That's a snoozer. We want the roller coaster, the uh-oh moments with the oh wow comebacks. It's proof that even the greats have to grind it out. What's your take on that never say die attitude shaping a brand, Joe?
Ah, Simon, 100% with you there. You got to respect that never say die thing Musk has got going on. It's like even if he's not your cup of tea, the guy's hustle is something else. Makes you kind of feel lazy just hearing about his day, right? But it ain't all rocket launches and cool electric cars, is it? I mean, he's had some serious uh-oh moments, but they sort of add to the mythos. It's relatable, gives the brand this human touch appeal. Like we see them stumble, which makes the wins that much more cheering material. That spirit, it bleeds through, tells us, hey, keep at it, whatever your it is. Grind out those dreams. Because watching these giants weather storms, that's potent stuff. Feels like it cracks open the door of possibility just a bit wider for us all, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. It's like these folks, Musk and Co., they make chasing unicorns look like just another Tuesday, dropping electric cars on us like they're hot mixtapes and launching rockets like they're firing off bottle rockets in the backyard. It's nutty, but it plants this idea. Mess-ups are kind of just side quests on your way to slaying dragons, right? And when you see a founder turn an oops into a eureka, that's better than any old fairy tale. 'Cause it's legit happening right before our very eyes. We're all scribbling away at our stories, dreaming of the logo that'll stand for our own saga. Sprinkle some stardust on that. It's like living in a world where everyone could just be one garage jam session away from etching their face onto a mountain of success. They say shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Or in Musk's case, maybe Mars.
You got to wonder, Simon, are we all just one wild idea away from being the next big logo legend? Makes me kind of want to clean out my garage and start brainstorming.
Joe, it's wild, right? Feels like all you need is one eureka jump in the shower moment, and bam, you're on the fast track to being a logo whiz. And sometimes, man, it's the bonkers ideas that hit pay dirt. So, when you getting that garage band brand together, Joe? Joe, got any zany side hustles turning gears in your noggin as we speak?
Heh, I'll tell you this, Simon. If I had a nickel for every zany idea itching at my brain, I guess I'd have a whole bunch of nickels. But you know what bugs me? This notion that you got to be some sort of mad genius to make it. History's littered with simple stuff turned big time. Like take Post-it notes. Guy was trying to make a super strong adhesive and ends up with this weak restickable deal. Seems like a flop, right? Nope, it's the opposite. And get this, potato chips, dude slices spuds too thin on purpose just to spite a picky eater, and like boom, snack empire born. It's mostly stumbling into greatness, not always chasing it. That's palatable. It feels within reach. So nah, no garage brandaloons just yet, but bet your bottom buck there's always something brewing up here, no matter how harebrained it might seem. How about you, Simon? Ever whip up a wild invention in your noggin and think, maybe?
Always cooking up something, Joe. Like what if socks had timestamps so you'd know which ones to toss? Silly, but hey, Post-its were a mistake, right? Sometimes brilliance hides in the duh moments. It's all about spotting that hidden gem. Makes me wonder what accidental genius idea is just around the corner, waiting for its big break. What do you reckon, Joe? Got any oops that could be our next wow?
Well, Simon, speaking of hidden gems and those oops turning into eureka moments, humor's that secret sauce in marketing, ain't it? I mean, how many startups have turned a goof or a meme into a viral brand moment? It's like they hitch a ride on the hashtag hype train and end up being the talk of the internet. Remember Share a Coke? Coca-Cola smacked names on bottles and suddenly everyone's searching for their own personal soda. Or what about when IHOP became IHLB to hype burgers? Had folks flip-flopping over pancakes and beef. Those gimmicks stick because they give us a chuckle. It's smart branding, makes companies relatable, memorable. Plus, we all could use a good laugh these days, right? What's your take on mixing in mirth with marketing messages, Simon?
Oh, Joe, the laugh factor's huge. A good giggle gets people gabbing, no doubt. But some of these hashtags, it's not all retweet rainbows, you know? Take IHOB. As much as everyone went bananas over the beef or burgers bit, there were folks calling it a cheap stunt. Almost felt like they sold out on their pancake roots. It's a gamble, like playing tag with attention spans. You gotta be sharp, land the punchline without becoming the joke yourself. Eat like Andy? Remember Super Bowl 2019? Burger King's Andy Warhol spot left some scratching their heads instead of rushing for Whoppers. So yeah, humor can strike gold or strike out. They say all publicity is good publicity, but is it really if your hashtag turns into a meme of mockery? What you think, Joe? Can a brand bounce back when their haha moment turns into an uh-oh?
Well, Simon, that's the risk you take when playing the humor card, right? A hashtag can go viral for all the wrong reasons. That said, I think there's a rebound strategy in owning the gag, even if it goes sideways. Take a McD stories, meant to be wholesome tales, turned into a roast fest on McDonald's. But the way I see it, as long as you've got folks talking about your brand, there's a chance to flip the script, engage with the banter, show some personality. A brand can become more human by laughing at itself a bit, showing it's not just some untouchable corporate fortress. And let's be honest, we all love a good redemption arc. Just steer the ship back with some clever PR and keep sailing. So to bounce back or not, brands gotta weave through the memes with grace. It's about using even the mishaps to connect with your peeps. Keep it real, stay relatable, that's where the magic happens. At least, that's my take. What's yours? Simon?
Absolutely, Joe. You take that hashtag hiccup and turn it into a badge of honor. Like slap on some social media savviness, and you could have folks rooting for your epic comeback. Play it right, and your brand's the plucky hero in a quirky internet saga. Who doesn't love cheering for an underdog?
Yeah, Simon. Reminds me of this time I tried grilling for the first time. So I'm out there thinking I'm the grill master, right? And I slap some burgers onto the flames, feeling like a champ. But then, flames start dancing a bit too high, smoke billowing like a chimney. Neighbors probably thought I was sending smoke signals, not cooking dinner. Hashtag grill fail, am I right? Posted a pic expecting sympathy or, well, at least to save face with a laugh. To my surprise, it started this whole chain of other barbecue fiascos online, turned into this funny communal confession of culinary misadventures. Like you said, showed we're all a bit human, even when charred burgers are your best offering. Definitely agree, there's power in spinning that underdog story.
Haha, grill fail, huh? Classic case of the hero's journey, but with burgers and brave firefighters named Joe. But here's my beef with it. Does everyone really get a kick out of these flubs, or do some just scroll past the smoke signals? See, for every hashtag win, there's a pile of burnt attempts that no one even raises an eyebrow at. Everyone's trying to catch lightning in a bottle, or on a grill in your case. The real trick is making sure it sparks more than just a flash in the pan. And let's poke at those viral cooking fails. Some are golden, like anything with cake wrecks. Hilarious. People love sharing disaster dishes because it's relatable. But where's the line? Too much and your brand's like, the one who cried wolf. You become the meme, not the maestro. It's a cookout conundrum, Joe. How to serve up humor that sticks without becoming the joke. Thoughts?
Ah, Simon, you're spot on, man. It's like walking a tightrope. Too far one way and you're the butt of the joke, too far the other, and you miss that human connection. I get a kick out of these fails, but there's this saturation point, right? You don't want to keep banging the same drum or folks start tuning out. The secret's in moderation, mixing it up. Maybe follow a grill fail with a smoke and win. Keeps them guessing, engaged. When we laugh, we let our guard down, connect on another level. So brands aiming for that gotta be sincere. The moment it feels like they're trying too hard, that's when they lose us. You gotta keep it real, and not chase the laugh, but let it come to you. That's what keeps the convo going without turning into a one-liner fiesta where no one remembers why they came to the party.
You know, Joe, that got me thinking. Every hashed grill fail is just a MasterChef moment in disguise. Just depends on the day and who's holding the spatula.
Haha, love that perspective, Simon. It's like every mistake's a step toward mastery, or at least a good story for another day. Talking about stories, well, that brings to mind this idea of closure in branding. How companies wrap up their narrative can really leave a lasting impression. Like, think about when Apple says one more thing. Oh boy, you know something big is coming. Wrapping up your brand saga on the right note, it cements what you're remembered for. Crafting that clear and resonant message, that's where loyalty's born. So what's key for closing out a brand story with impact? To ensure that narrative sticks with your audience, becomes part of their own story.
Ah, the grand finale of branding tales, right? So here's my 2 cents. It's like when I ran that lemonade stand as a kid. Stick with me here. I had the usual pitcher, cups, smile plastered on my face, but every customer got to drop a lemon seed in a jar, and once it was full, plant a lemon tree in the neighborhood. People loved watching that jar fill up. It wasn't just about like the zingy drink, it was the ending they could root for, literally. The point is, your brand stories got to wrap up with a bow that ties back to why people showed up at your stand in the first place. Customers are part of your story. They want to know how it ends, that they're leaving with more than just a product. They're leaving with an experience, a chapter in their own saga. That lemon tree's still out there, Joe, and folks remember that when they sip lemonade. Brands need to plant their own metaphorical trees. Give them a reason to come back and see how far you've all grown together, you know?
Simon, I like where your head's at with the whole seed planting analogy. But let me play devil's advocate here. Sometimes planting that lemon tree takes years before you ever see a single lemon. You get what I'm saying? Sure, we all love a story with a neat ending, but in the fast-paced world of branding, sometimes closure is more like a to be continued. That anticipation is also powerful. Leaves customers wondering what's next. It keeps them hooked. Look at brands with ongoing narratives. They keep evolving, and folks stick around for the journey, not just the destination. People want to feel they're part of something bigger. That doesn't necessarily end. It keeps unfolding. So the nuance? It's making sure your conclusion isn't really the end, just another exciting bend in the road. You swing people through a spectrum of emotions, and when they think they've got the ending figured out, you deliver an unexpected chapter. That way, you're continually fostering loyalty because there's always more to come. Keeps things fresh, makes your brand story something they can't wait to read the next page of. What do you think about that angle, Simon?
Bet you thought I'd agree, huh? Twist. It's not about how many lemons we squeeze, but how zesty the ride is. Next page, please.
Absolutely, Simon. It's all about the zest, the journey. And speaking of which, have you ever thought about what makes your story so sticky for people? Like, what keeps them coming back to your lemonade stand, metaphorically speaking, even after they know there might be a tree at the end?
Ah, you know what it is, Joe? It's that human touch. Like me remembering a repeat customer's name or asking about their dog. People got to feel they matter beyond their wallet's weight. And in the corporate chronicle, it's those little callbacks to the brand's journey, showing growth without forgetting heck, where you planted your roots. Each product release or campaign, it's like an inside joke or a shared memory with your customers. So yeah, staying true to your story while weaving new threads, that's key. It keeps the page turners, well, turning pages. And like reminiscing about past chapters, eager for more. It's making sure the end is just another see you tomorrow in disguise.
Haha, Simon, you nailed it. Feels like it's straight out of a Joe Rogan dialogue. That personal connection is what really resonates with people. It's about looking someone in the eye, showing that you give a damn. Keeping it real. It's not just transactions, it's all those moments in between where the magic happens. Like I always say, you got to treat each encounter as an opportunity to leave a mark, to be genuine. And that's universal, whether you're running a Fortune 500 company or a corner lemonade stand. Having that see ya tomorrow mentality, it's about building trust through authenticity. A story well told today should make them eager to hear what's coming up next time they tune in. and keep them engaged in this wild, ongoing adventure we call life.
For sure, Joe. That see you tomorrow mindset is unbeatable. Stories with heart, an open book where every end whispers, what's next? Keeping them eager to stick around, that's the real deal in this narrative game. So I wonder, what wild twist will we see in the next chapter of our favorite brand stories?
Speaking of what's next, Simon, it's like every time we see a brand logo, there's this curiosity hit, right? It's like glimpsing the cover of a book and pondering what stories lie within. These logos, they're emblems of empires, man. Each is cram-packed with symbolism that tells you more about a company than just their name ever could, representing history, mission, values. It's an art form in itself, decoding all the subtleties embedded in these corporate icons. Take, for example, the bitten apple of Apple, or Nike's swoosh. What deeper tales do you think these iconic symbols are whispering to us?
Yeah, Joe, but let's be real for a sec. Sometimes folks dig too deep. Like they say the Apple logo is for knowledge or temptation, right? And sure, that bite could whisper of Eve grabbing fruit from the tree of knowledge. But what if it's just easier to trademark? Or, and here's a kicker, maybe it's so people don't mistake it for a cherry. And Nike's swoosh, it's supposed to symbolize motion, victory, the just-do-it spirit of an athlete. But come on, some might just see a check mark, like it's saying, yup, you bought the right shoes. So these icons, yeah, I get it, they're storybooks in a single sketch. But also, aren't we just loving a good puzzle? We want to see stories in stars, read fortunes in coffee cups. It's fun decoding these emblems, but sometimes a swoosh is just a swoosh, you know? Still, brands love that we spin tales around their logos. It's free lore. Stick a hidden arrow in a FedEx logo and boom, everyone's a detective. It keeps their name on our lips. Clever, huh?
You got a point there, Simon. It's like we're all wired to look for those stories and meanings. Makes us feel smart, huh? But at the end of the day, it also just kind of humanizes these corporate giants. We relate to symbols more than, say, names on a building. But hey, indulge me. I love philosophizing about hidden depths in logos. Even simple ones can tap into our collective subconscious, speaking without words. A swoosh is a swoosh until it stands for human potential. Reaching for that finish line, it takes on a life of its own. Like every time I lace up my Nikes, I'm kind of lacing up that spirit too. And isn't that kind of powerful? Sure, some might scoff, but tell me they don't feel just a little bit more heroic just because of that logo. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's like slapping on a superhero cape when you wear that logo. Suddenly, you're not just jogging, you're racing a cheetah, because logos are magic like that.
Yes, Simon, that cape feeling is real. But let's play the other side for a sec. Not everyone's buying into the magic of logos. You know, some folks are just practical. They aren't swayed by fancy symbols. They care more about things like cost, functionality, and quality. Heck, think about it. How often do people choose a local diner over a place with a flashy logo? Or grab the store brand cereal despite the lackluster packaging? Branding can hint at superiority, inspire trust, like Apple's rep for innovation. Yet someone could argue, hey, my no-name tablet works just fine without the bite out of my budget. Do they resonate with the bitten apple symbolism? Maybe not. I can almost heard them saying, give me the specs, not the fairy tales. So logos, while steeped in stories and meaning, sometimes it's just a label to sift past when making choices. Like if the product rocks, who cares about the swoosh or the stripes, right? It's an angle to consider when we get caught up in our corporate emblem decoding escapades.
Right. So we gotta consider that while some see logos as epic tales, others are looking straight past the emblem. They prioritize experience over story. For them, it's about, does this work or is it within budget, rather than what saga does this logo spin? And that's pretty critical to know, because not all buying decisions are swayed by symbolism. When you get down to brass tacks, if a product does its job well, who cares about the logo jazz? Sure, Apple screams innovation with their sleek designs and all, but Joe at the corner shop may just shrug it off if his trusty old brand ticks all his boxes. It's about balance, recognizing the power of logos without forgetting that in the end, they're a piece of a much bigger puzzle. So yeah, the narrative is cool, But let's not forget, some folks are just fine without all that flair. They just want something solid that does what it says on the tin, or box, I guess.
Totally, Simon. At its core, it's about that product living up to the promise, logo or not. But hey, maybe next time we'll dive deeper into some lesser-known logos and unravel those stories, if they exist. Who knows what we might uncover lurking behind those unsung emblems?
Talking about unsung emblems is one thing, but stumbling upon those hidden Easter eggs some brands sneak in, is that insider high five hitched to a logo adding extra oomph to our loyalty? Or is it just a smug in-joke floating over most heads?
Oh man, those hidden Easter eggs can be a wild ride, a subtle nod to those in the know. Take Toblerone's logo. Did you ever notice there's actually a bear silhouette within the mountain? It's a homage to its Swiss heritage, paying tribute to Bern, known as the City of Bears. Or how about Baskin-Robbins? Most folks just see the BR, but take a closer look and you'll find the number 31 nestled right there, representing their famous 31 flavors. It's like, aesthetically, these little tidbits might not sway everyone. They're whisper thin under layers of first impressions. Yet for some, discovery clicks. A sense of shared secret that does two things: charms them into feeling special, part of an inside circle, and it subtly crafts deeper brand ties. Could argue it doesn't directly shore up loyalty universally, but for sure, it catches attention, gets people talking. A shrewd play in marketing, if anything, right? It stirs curiosity, maybe even a smidge of allegiance, for serendipitously peeling back the veil on a design all by themselves.
Yeah, but think about it. How many people actually catch these Easter eggs without someone pointing them out? It's a bit of a gamble, like an Easter egg hunt where most folks don't even know there's candy to find. Like sure, for the eagle-eyed or those clued in by a viral TikTok, that aha moment is gold. For everyone else, they just see mountains and initials. Toblerone's bear, Baskin-Robbins 31. It's cool trivia, but does it change how we taste chocolate or ice cream? Not really. And man, can we talk about how sometimes these nuggets feel a bit, I don't know, try hard? Like brands are smirking in the corner while everyone walks past their cleverness. Makes you wonder, are these Easter eggs for us, or more for the designers to high-five over at industry mixers? So, do hidden symbols forge deeper bonds with the brand? Maybe, if you notice them. Otherwise, they're just nifty design quirks we'll ooh over once and then carry on, oblivious and munching on our ice creams, completely unbothered.
You know what, Simon? I bet if brands turned these hidden tidbits into a contest or a game people played to find them, we'd see that impact on brand loyalty really light up.
Totally, Joe. Remind me of the time I was munching on a bag of those goldfish crackers with my niece, right? So I'd never noticed, but she's like super into all these animal facts, and she's examining the little smiles on them. Each one is different, you know? Well, turns out it was this big engagement thing the brand did a while back, encouraging kids to find these special fish with sunglasses or silly hats. Suddenly, me and her are just tearing through the bag, laughing, searching for the secret snack fish. So yeah, it was a kind of bonding moment, even taught her a bit about marketing without her knowing. And do you know what? Next time we're at the store, guess which brand of crackers she's gunning for? Point is, turning hidden designs into an interactive game like that made us connect, not just with each other, but with the snack too. It's clever. It definitely gave the product more character, made the brand stick in our minds a tad more. So yeah, these Easter eggs might be small potatoes on their own, but make them part of the experience, and bam, you've got memorable moments and maybe even a boost in loyalty.
Makes you think, Simon, how many ordinary moments are just a hidden detail away from turning into an extraordinary memory?
Yeah, it's wild when you think about it. But here's the kicker. Not every hidden detail is going to transform your day into a fairy tale. Like imagine this. You're sipping on soda, staring at the can, and someone says there's a cool design trick in the logo. You squint, you stare, and then nothing. You're just not seeing it. So now instead of feeling all Sherlock Holmes, you're just a dude who's been staring at a can for 10 minutes. Not so extraordinary, huh? The risk with these Easter eggs is that they might trip into try-hard territory. Overdo it, and the magic fizzles. You've turned a peppy brand moment into a full-on puzzler minus the satisfaction. Because let's face it, most of us ain't got time for decoding logos while life's chugging along, right? We've got enough riddles dealing with daily stuff, like figuring out why my phone's GPS insists I'm in the middle of a lake when I'm clearly on Main Street. So, yeah, sometimes those hidden details might up the ante in the ordinary, make a regular snack run a quest-worthy trek, but only if folks bite. If they don't play along, well, it's just a bear in a mountain. Or was it the other way around?
Guess that's the beauty and the curse of Easter eggs, Simon. The aha moments can either make us feel like geniuses or leave us puzzled enough to question our own eyesight.
Oh, that's spot on. Like this one time, I was doing a crossword puzzle. Hey, don't judge. Crosswords are cool, right? So there's this one clue just driving me nuts, can't crack it for the life of me. I'm there squinting at the paper like it owes me money, you know? Meanwhile, my buddy is just breezing through his own puzzle because, of course, he picked the kiddie one with pictures. And I'm thinking, maybe today's not a word genius day for me. Maybe it's a find the cat in the picture kind of day. Anyways, I kid you not, I finally get the clue after putting it down and coming back later with like fresher eyes or whatever. The answer was so simple, something we talked about days ago. Ridiculous, right? But in that moment, ultimate brain master, that's me. So yeah, the satisfaction is real when you spot these things, but sometimes they're a head scratcher that needs walking away from before it clicks. Just like hunting Easter eggs in brand logos, sometimes plain sight ain't plain enough.
Imagine how many hidden gems we've missed because we're too caught up in our own puzzles. Makes you want to take a second look at everything, huh?
Oh, for sure. It's like every day's a treasure hunt now. But hey, speaking of wrapping up puzzles, I think it's about time we start putting the lid back on this can of worms, at least until tomorrow. Big ol' shout out to all you amazing listeners tuning in. It's cause of you that Joe and I have the raddest job ever. And remember,